Welcome back, everybody, to some more UPL action here. Day 2 of our playoff spree. My name's Infernosis, joined here by my great friend Fellow. We've got a bit of a banger of a matchup. X13 versus 9-3. And this one's going to be a matchup for the ages, a best of 3 to add in. John, what do you got listed for us?
Well, it's 9-3 versus X13, both them having very similar regular season standings, both going 5-2, except that 9-3 was second for the Raven division and X13 was only third. But that really isn't much of a difference there, just a couple of round differentials. But since we've got the bracket right in front of our faces, might as well go over that. You can see what we've already gone through. Mystic winning flawlessly 2-0 as Candace had to forfeit. So they're already locked into the semifinals for that first setup. And then X13 or 9-3 will follow suit into that division. And then the day after this, we'll have Aerial Arise versus SH Bravo, followed up the day after with Chess Club versus Revenge Nation. All of these brackets being quite stacked. I, honest to God, love all of these teams, and I wish they all could have made it to grand finals, but sadly, only 2 can make it after all these bouts going underway.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, with that unfortunate forfeit that we had go through for Mystic, they're going to walk away with a free win. We could have expected a lot for the matchup, not a huge day. That's why, even though this may be day 2 of our playoff spree, it's effectively day 1. It's our first playoff match we actually get to, watch and behold. So I guess we'll go over a little bit of the actual players that are coming through for X13. You've got J Slime, Biologic, an ex-pro player, Bry, Elsist, and Snows. They're coming in for the pivotal X13 roster, and they're going to be going in for some more CL quals as well coming up for stage. So a pretty important factor for 9-3. We're going to have T-Hunt, Bomber, Focal, Gekyu, Stevie, and TK coming in and trying and dethrone this X13 roster, which are pretty heavy favorites going into this one. But speaking of favorites, sometimes you have a favorite map, sometimes you don't. My least favorite map, as well as having a least favorite hair right here, my least favorite map is actually the map of Cafe. We'll see what map we're actually playing here first today. And unfortunately, looking on the far right, it will be Cafe eventually if it does go to map 3, but it looks to be is this right? No, I'm dumb. Oregon and Clubhouse are the first 2 we're playing. Sorry. I'm so used to a best of 1. I'm just reading the map. So strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, Oregon Clubhouse followed with a Decider and Cafe. John, what do you think these are going to have to show up depending on these teams and what they banned?
Kind of boring. I'm not going to lie, but I don't really blame them. Both these teams have had a very similar regular season like I just mentioned a moment ago. So just being comfortable with what you're used to. These are some of the most played maps inside of T3 and a lot of just Pro League and competitive R6 in general. You know the strategies really well. There's nothing really out of the ordinary you can perform on these very old maps, even though both them have been reworked in the past. I'm looking forward to see how the Clubhouse rework affects it later on, much further down the line. But obviously, we're not going to have to worry about that during the playoffs because that hasn't happened yet. That's just in the TS, so that's not that big of an issue. I wonder if we'll still see any exciting strategies coming out, maybe some really off-the-walls extensions coming out by either 9-3 or X13, but honestly, this is probably going to be just some textbook definition of good old-fashioned Siege, to be honest.
So you think with the facet of us playing the old T4, T3 special to start off the 2, Clubhouse and, Oregon, I can't believe my brain just failed that for a second there. Do you think we're going to see some cookie cutter action essentially? And I think I have to agree, right? Like, I think I have to agree with you. It's nothing too shocking to see that. And it's something that, especially if I am 9-3 and you know that you're kind of the underdogs going into this one, though you may not admit that to yourself. But, predictably the underdogs going into it, play a map that you're, expectant to at least play strong on. A map that is something that's been in your back pocket for a long period of time. One of the maps that's been in the pool for so long that every team just knows how to play it. That's why it's the T3 and T4 special. Any team that you play on that you'll join into and you're doing scrims, that's probably one of the first maps you're going to jump onto for the first time. It's just something that's set in stone, ready to play, and basically any player knows what they need to do, and I think that's a very smart decision. I think this might be exactly what 9-3 needs to do to try and dethrone X13, but I don't think they need to do cookie cutter action here, John. I think they need to kind of spice it up, do some interesting strategies. We could see Big Window being the largest facet for push on Oregon, and seeing them try to push in through second floor instead of actually going through main option. For Clubhouse, I think maybe putting a little bit more focus on the southern subroof instead of the eastern subroof could be a bit more of a factor. That could be an interesting way to push. Ultimately, I think that if you do cookie cutter action as 9-3, then you're going to get a cookie cutter scoreline as X13. Just do what they do best.
See the ban's going underway with X13 picking Habana first. Not a bad ban. It's going to make getting the hatches opened a lot more difficult, especially when you're trying to attack the basement floor. That security, hatch getting opened on up, allowing for Freezer to be approached upon a little bit easier. It's not going to be that same situation. Now, I'm wondering if we're going to see a Maverick ban or a Thatcher come out. Probably Thatcher, as he's almost always banned. And yep, that'll be the second ban followed up. So already, pretty straightforward. Really nothing out of the ordinary here, to be honest, for a matchup like Oregon. I wonder, though, what we're going to be seeing for the defensive bans, whether we see a Mira being off the board or possibly that Valkyrie that we tend to see a lot of because she's very versatile in terms of intel gathering. Honestly, depends as to how 9 and 3 want to play both their attacking half and also their defending half, and the exact same thing can be said for X13, and it's going to be a Valkyrie. Not really shocking. This is already looking to be a very cookie cutter setup for map number 1. But hey, at least J Slime's popping out some bangers in the all chat. That's always nice to see.
Yeah, much like how Donda was popped out pretty recently as well. Speaking of what they're talking about as well, they were popping the. They're talking about it right now. They talked about it. They brought the Me 6 bot into their call room early, and we're listening to Donda. So it's pretty funny to see. I'm pretty sure that's been all taken care of and whatnot. It would be it's pretty entertaining nonetheless. But obviously, last ban, cookie cutter by all accounts. Mira will be banned out, and that's just going to be something that's standard across the board. Cookie cutter for both sides. 9-3 with a very standard Thatcher and Mira. I genuinely don't think Mira's a necessary ban these days, but it's definitely something that could go through and still be viable, especially in a map like Oregon where she can be strong in a lot of positions. But I'm not necessarily sure why the Habana ban was going through instead of maybe, I guess, removing Maverick. If you take out the Maverick, then you kind of force the other team to go for a Kaid ban instead. And that could be an interesting option if you wanted to maybe play with the Mira, but apparently not. Apparently they're more worried about getting rid of the Habana and not having to face her first and just trying to play their own stride on this defense in this first half.
Well, at least X13 can focus a lot more on the utility and not denying any hatches from being opened up, because now Focal is going to really have no troubles trying to get them open at all unless someone just kills him off the rip. And I'm wondering if that's me. No, for once, not my internet cutting out. It's just someone loading up, having some SSD problems. Oh, okay. And that's just some technical errors. Well, for once, oh no, we're in.
I think we're in, maybe, possibly. Oh, we're in. We're all good.
Way to start it off, right? Way to start off the first official matchup of the playoffs of UPL. A little bit of a jump scare. I thought it was me, and I was like, God damn, not this early into the best of 3. For once, it is not me. I'm very happy to see that, to be honest.
If you want to ever know the troubles fellow John goes through, we joined the Discord call a little early. He turned on his camera, and see how my camera looks today. Looks great, pristine, immediately locked up and lagged. And he was so happy about the camera quality and just did not pay attention to lag. We're all like, oh no, it's lagging, and it was just sadness. It tears me up inside and tears me up just everywhere I go to see fellow with such a nice webcam quality, but literally absolutely no frame rate with it to follow through. It's basically just a PNG instead of a webcam.
Well, good thing it's mostly just the audio coming through and not the camera, because I might be a little bit out of luck. Maybe not in the business of commentary as much as I am currently, but I'm shocked to see X13 not going for an extension up above to defend this basement floor. We've been seeing a lot more extensions go underway, especially in Nerd Street Games, as they just finished up their grand finals a little while ago, about a handful of days ago, but that won't be the case currently. I don't think we're seeing any passive roamers either on the side of X13. Looks to be a very heavy anchor set up, everyone just holding down that bottom floor, forcing out a lot of passive time on the side of 9 and 3. But obviously, if they spot this out early on, they can immediately begin to get those hatches opened up with Focal on the Maverick, start clearing out those slight extensions. And really, the only person who's playing slightly aggressive here was Biologic on those big tower stairs, but he's got an immediate escape route, so it's really not that much of a commitment here for the side of X13. They're prepared just to hold down this bottom floor to the best of their abilities.
And the Turtle strategy is one that's pretty competent in a lot of regards, but does have a very large weak link for when the attack is able to attack from multiple directions. And that's kind of what I think 9-3 is going for here. We've seen them bust open hatch inside of security. They've locked down the section toward Freezer. Focal's taking out the meeting hall hatch, doing that with the map trick. And we're seeing 9-3 kind of spread themselves out, which could be considered thin, but with a defensive setup like X13 is bringing to the table with literally no roam game and just a straight up turtle, this is probably the strongest decision 9-3 can make on their attack. With only a minute and 20 seconds remaining, they have plenty of time to continue to catch offshoot angles, find a safe spot to maybe drop in and step up, and maybe collect themselves a kill, and they will in fact find the first. Stevie is able to step up, taking out Bry. A 5v4 in effect as a minute and 7 seconds remain, and a push now coming in from Barrel Room. Biologic's ready to watch. Flashes go out. Retina's completely removed as that one completely finds its margin of targets. Biologic is now trapped inside Harry Potter. One drops down E-Box. T-On Bomber finds Biologic trapped, but J-Slime steps up before being felt in return by Stevie. A 4v1 as it's just Snows left standing. 45 seconds do remain, but not much time has remained left for Snows. They are running out of space as a Nitro is tossed and does not find anything in the process. I'm sorry to break it to you, Snows, but this round may just be a one and done. Does find T-Hun Bomber. The diffuser does get planted, however. Lunchbox has been put down, and now a post-plant situation for this very unfortunate Snows.
But he finds another one, though. This could actually be winnable here. There's a crossfire going on, but Snows with 3! A great shot will be had, but can't spot out the lone Zofia player. A close call in the last-ditch attempt there for X13 to win out that first round, but it's not going to happen. 9-3 steal it in the post-plant situation, but hey, he gave him a run for their money, Snows, finding a really good 3K, almost getting us that first round win for him, but sadly, not going to be the case.
I think a very strong decision there by Snows was to continue to go forward, not give up, and that's exactly what happened. Unfortunately, could not find that last kill, but I mean, what can we necessarily expect in that regard? It was already more than anticipated. Even X13 was giving, 9-3 was giving full props to Snows in that process. Like, nice try, good attempt, and he's very happy to hear that. That's something that can go forward and say, hey, that's a, motivation, that's a, mental boost, and that's exactly what we need to see. But X13 doing what I hate to see, and I think John agrees with me on this, the same objective twice. And it breeds a level of complacency. I do notice that on the defensive side, they're still bringing the exact same operator lineup in the exact same positions. If they're going to do this, they need to change up the strategy. I think we need to see Bry on the roam and maybe even some assistance from J-Slime. But if J-Slime does try to go for that extended style roam, they need to make sure they stay alive and focus on an information style instead of focusing on the kill.
Especially since 9-3 just had overall a great push into that bottom floor. They had no back push at all when they were on the clear because no one was above on that second floor. Biologic was kind of teetering between that back big tower stairwell, but eventually he ended up running away in towards Harry Potter-ish and then also near Pillar, and eventually forcing himself to play there to die as he was pincered from the hatch drop as someone went down in towards E-Box, another player up in towards Blue Bunker, and even a player up on the big tower stairs. He had nowhere to go, and like I said, he was just playing there to die, so a little bit more aggression in that early game could really bode well for X13, especially if they find some sort of pick, wasting even more time because 9-3 had plenty of seconds left to get that plant down, find a couple of picks here and there, make it that 4 versus 1 situation, and although it came close in a one-on-one for Snows as he found 3 beautiful kills, he couldn't get a 4th one to seal the deal.
And I think a big aspect was just how well 9-3 were able to step up and just completely, sweep the first sections of the killing phase of that round. I mean, we saw it come down to a complete 4v1, and that's just all accounts 9-3 doing what they need to do, and they did it spectacularly. Their spread out attempt at clearing floor holes like they just did right there, going and putting an exothermic charge on that security room hatch, and instead of actually peeking that and having a sightline in that direction, 4 players make a full rotation switch, heading over towards Meeting Hall instead, and are now looking to attack in this northwest and northern side of the map. An interesting decision. They do have to worry about one on those short stairs towards rear stage. Not the biggest point of concern because for 9-3, they've got TK who is watching that second floor of tower. Now hatch has been opened up. They've got a separate sightline to step forward. They can maybe attempt to deny an outlook for a player to rotate and retreat, towards that Harry Potter stairs, but 9-3 quickly running out of time, but this hasn't stopped them just yet.
Plenty of time here yet again for 9-3, still having everyone up on full health, but the same can be said for X13, so it's not really a difficult situation just yet, but we're starting to see that exact same pressure being applied again up in towards Blue Bunker near that doorway, and also players up near backstairs and E-Box once again. We're basically repeating what just happened in the last minute of the round, except 9-3 hasn't found those kills just yet, but they're lining themselves up to get that. They're flashing out Biologic. Once again, he's playing here just to die, but luckily he has backup from Elses to find that first kill on towards T-Hunt Bomber. A 5-on-3 turned now, favoring X13 as frag grenades are being tossed in the latched attempt. Great shot by Stevie to remove that Nitro cell, but they still haven't gotten rid of either Bio or Elses. 1 versus 4 situation in the hands of Stevie as he's already been tagged, and Bry will clean up the kill. X13, a second attempt will work out just well for him, but we've got to go in a little bit of a technical break as we have no idea what's going on with our VMix currently.
Yeah, some interesting tearing, but nonetheless could digest what was going on in that round. And it was a very successful defense there by X13 that kind of caught on, right? I mean, they figured out what was happening in the first round. They kind of adapted to what came through. And I think that's probably the most important aspect we saw in the adaptation for X13. They were able to quickly adapt to 9-3, and that may be the defining end, the final nail in the coffin for 9-3. And that's something weird to say in round 2, right? But X13 is one of those squads that can, take a round loss and then completely sweep that in the other direction and just make it a really shocking result. And I think that's kind of what we saw for a lopsided as a round as we had as round 1. Round 2 kind of went the other direction. It was almost a flawless round, but an unfortunate pick there by Stevie kind of, narrowed the distance, and Brian was able to step up and kind of say, hey, you're not getting one more. You're not Snows in this position. That's exactly what happened. So a very successful round and a very important one. And I think that from what I was able to view through the tearing and things that we had here in VMix, I'm really excited for what X13 is going to continue to bring to the table. I think the most important fact was the fact that Biologic didn't get killed in Harry Potter right off the bat and was able to pick up some kills because of it.
He actually had help from his teammate of Elses. He was watching E-Box, so Bio really only had to worry about Blue Bunker, and if someone did manage to scrape past Elses, it'd be an easy pickup kill for Biologic. It was great synergy and coordination by X13. They knew what they were getting themselves into, and it's exactly why they picked to go that exact same bomb site of Laundry and Supply twice in a row. They're like, you know what? 9-3, they're probably so comfortable after that round, they're going to reattempt the exact same thing they did on round number 1, and we're going to know how to counteract it this time. Perfect opportunity for X13 to steal around, and they did just that, moving things up 1-1. They'll now go up above and towards Supply Kids and Dorms. I sometimes say Supply on accident, it happens, and a very different lineup as we are going to a very different site. And one of my favorite picks to see every now and again, no, it's not Tashanka, it's Echo being played by Snows.
That's a really important pick, in my opinion. I think Echo, who hasn't really gotten a large play time in a lot of recent tourneys and leagues and things of the sort, I think is a really slept-on decision. I mean, we've noticed that in a couple other leagues that came up. Eris came through, and Echo actually did manage to get picked up and played quite successfully. I think that may be an aspect to say that Echo can be played and find success at a competent level of play, and I think that's exactly what we should be seeing here. Snows has already popped off, found 3 in that one round. Hasn't been able to do anything, say, in the last round, but that's because the team did not die around him and was able to stay alive, and I think we may be able to see some lucky plays from Snows once again to kind of catch up and tag some more frags in the process. And what a better operator to do it. You can stay alive as long as possible and find use with those yokai drones to maybe stop a placement to go through, getting yourself in a position to completely win a round without having to find a shot into the enemy's forehead, or use that MP5 SD and shoot at your opponent with insanely aggressive accuracy. And if there's one player I'm expecting to do that, it's going to be Snows. But at this time, I will have to tell, a very dangerous position as one is, stacked up inside kitchen. Maybe a little dangerous spot for Biologic as they are trapped. A retreat may not be viable as we could see the flank come through from 9-3. This may just be a final stand for Biologic, but it was a final stand for Stevie, taken out by J-Slime from above with a 416C, and a 4v5 must come through, make it a 4v4 as Focal finds the nade. Focal's low in the process as well. Biologic still just camping. Not going to matter, though. One will go down, finished off as Elsis finds zone in the process, and a 2v4 very early on. John, Biologic may be able to escape this one with their life intact.
He was playing in a position just to die. Again, he did that on round number 1 and 2, playing near Harry Potter in that big tower sterile, and now he's doing it up and towards kitchen. But again, he catches someone off guard, and we're in a 4-on-2 position, and Biologic is still trying to find more and more kills. I don't really blame him. It doesn't matter if he dies. You're still in a really good position here, as there isn't a ton of time left for 9-3. They'll pick up that very vital frag, though, on towards Biologic, so a little bit more winnable than it was before, but Focal's been tagged very high highly and just finished off outright now by Bry. It's all in the hands of TK, and he'll meet the same fate as his teammate just did from front doorway. A second round win now in a row for X13, as they're doing much better after that one hiccup round on the first one.
Very nice run. Very successful. Like I said, X13 is a team that can adapt on a dime. We were seeing just that. Unfortunately, they've looked at kitchen in meeting hall as first, and now they're going to kitchen and dining hall. So I think that's a better decision. You know my take on this, John. I despise meeting hall whatsoever. I hate it. I cannot stand meeting hall. It's so annoying to me. Dining is so much more entertaining. The only wary,
Dining is fun.
Yeah. The only thing I'm wary about right now is the fact that 9-3 did an insanely good job of clearing that bathroom just last round, right? They did a very good job of clearing showers. And unfortunately, it didn't really matter for them because Biologic was nearby to cap one as they tried to go through security hall, and it ultimately kind of fizzled out because of the 416 above inside dorms, being able to tag out the player attempting to step into security as well. But I don't think that's necessarily a really major point of contention because X13 can now decide to full defend the second floor still because they still have that aerial look on kitchen and they can deny green hallway to step inside, or they can just say, hey, we're going to put somebody up in small tower and inside of showers and completely deny a Western style push to maybe, I guess, keep 9-3 at bay for just a little bit longer.
I'm really trying to think about how 9 and 3 are going to want to approach this round. They have T-Hun Bomber on the Jackal, so it's going to make the roam clear up above a lot easier, but you definitely prioritize a lot more on that shower extension when you're holding out dining room, which is one of the main reasons why I love seeing dining room, is because when a shower extension works out, it's just so funny seeing someone on a Maestro pick, for example, just mow down players left and right with really no hesitation or any back push at all. And 9 and 3 going to try to waste little to no time heading on both that top floor and also in towards small tower to begin their due diligence of just slowly clearing out that extension and maybe trying to play up above to maybe remove some of those mute jammers off the main wall, get that sightline in towards dining, maybe go for a cheeky plant as they do have some smoke grenades once again in the hand of T-Hunt Bombers. So not a bad start whatsoever, but a very methodical one, might I add, for 9 and 3 once again.
I think that's the right decision here. We have TK still playing that Thermite. We could see them place that on that soft floor in small tower, kind of clear it a bit of a top half to go towards that wall connecting to dining. I think that's still viable. That's still a strategy you can do these days, right? I'm not crazy, right, John?
I don't think I've seen anything change. To be
All right,
honest.
cool. So you can still do that, but the issue here is the fact that I think they're wanting to toss some nades. You can't see that Maverick player lying down. Focal should have been dead way before then. That is a complete misplay by Bryce. Focal finds the shot instead, and TK will begin the process or tease the process to go for the exothermic charge. T-Hunt Bomber has not yet found and dropped that mute jammer that is behind the other side of that wall. And yes, while it has received that nerf coming into TS, it's not active just yet, and you will still see mute completely destroy and deny hard breaches for such an extended period of time. J-Slime finds a pick onto Stevie. A 4v4 doesn't last much longer as you see Snows find one more in the process. 9-3, maybe a man down, but they've got 3 full health players ready to contend, and they do have that dining hard wall connecting to small tower open.
Vocal still having his frag grenade. Sadly, Stevie died having both of them in his hand. As you can see in the upper left-hand corner, all 4 of them are still in that hotbar. But the fact that Vocal is alive, that could allow for some space to be made, but Gekyu just runs right into showers and eliminates Elcess. A 3-on-2 as T-Hunt Bomber will find a headshot on towards Snows, and Biologic down for the count as well to the same hand of T-Hunt Bomber. J-Slime, already low on HP, has to find the 3K, starts off one on a Gekyu, but cannot find the refrag on towards Vocal, as he'll actually end up doing that instead. A good recovery round for 9 and 3, but that is pretty expected on those quote-unquote tertiary bomb site picks of either dining or meeting, depending on how you want to pick your poison.
Now let's think a little bit about the poor play there by Brian, not firing first through that peek hole that came through from Focal, and notice who got the final kill as well. Focal was a focal point of that round there for them, and completely swept, and maybe not in the way that you would think a sweep would be, taking 4 kills, 5 kills, no, but important frags, a very, very important frag. Taking out a Wamai as your first pick is a very strong one. Denies any more chance of those magnets being placed and denying your hard breach inside of that wall, which ended up being their main point of entry, and they're also their main point of flank to catch off J-Slime on the rotate. So nothing but smart decisions there by 9-3. They played that to a spectacular margin, and in my opinion, X13 didn't play enough to deny it. And genuine opinion, I think 9-3 may just be too strong on that dining side. They took it in quick succession. They knew exactly what peak hole they wanted to make, and nothing of what X3 brought to the table in terms of their hard breach denial was enough to slow down 9-3 to force them to play into the last 30 seconds meta. That's ultimately, even though I hate the 30-second meta, ultimately what felled them in the process. So I think maybe we do need to see a meeting hall play from them. No matter how much that pains me to say, I think having a much wider objective like that may just fit better to the X13 playstyle.
It's weird too because you can get punished when someone's just approaching in a meeting and then gets the kitchen wall opened up. Yeah, you can counter it, but I just feel like a lot of teams probably would not be the best at doing that. X13 probably is one of those teams that could deny a meeting-sided push when defending dining room. That wouldn't really shock me. They're a really good team, and I have to humble myself for a minute because I haven't been able to do a lot of my homework about them, and for a while I was just sleeping on them, although they had the stats to back it up. So to X13, I apologize for that, but turning a new leaf, I got to actually see you guys play, and you are impressing me really well as recovering on round number 2 and then following up with a great round on the 3rd one. I mean, I've been quite amused, to say the least, and I'm also excited to see that Bri took a much more asserting role, but I think J-Slime tried doing the exact same thing, got punished for it by Stevie, as that's going to be the first frag, favoring 9-3 on round number 5, but they still have to clear out a little bit of this passive roam, but eventually X13 will just back off, kind of shell away from their problems, and just wait until you see that last floor push here, except for Bri, who's still just waiting around towards Freezer, maybe trying to find a frag, but on Z hallway, he's just a little bit too slow on the draw, but no one's droned out near split. Biologic gets one, but is luckily traded up by T-Hun Bomber, still giving 9-3 that slight man advantage, but they really got to check their backs, especially if those air jabs aren't placed properly.
You can see the brain, the cogs turning a Biologic's brain there as they rotated back through that split hallway, and unfortunately it doesn't seem to necessarily matter. Peek towards the garage instead of the actual stairwell, and that's ultimately what have felled them as they were able to turn the corner. And yes, I heard your little noise there, as that was a very interesting SMG-11 kill heading over towards that green hall, but ultimately it only brings it to a 3v3, and 9-3 are still in a position where they can clear out a lot of halls, gather the information with the Gemini replicator, and attempt to step forward, and it looks to be they're trying their tried-and-true method of exploiting multiple directions of attack against this X13 defense, and unfortunately I'm not sure how much longer that'll last. A Nitro is tossed over towards those freezer stairs, which we did see Stevie kind of teasing. I think it was actually T-Hub Bomber kind of teasing in that aspect, but ultimately doesn't go off, doesn't find anything in the process, and now we see X13 kind of flustered. They haven't pushed them where they needed to, and there's still plenty of time for 9-3 to go in that direction. It looks to be Freezer has been given complete control over to 9-3, and even though 43 seconds do remain, X13 have done an exceptional job of getting themselves enough time to maybe deny even further advancement. TK's drop down laundry staircase, a dangerous position, could catch them off in the rotate. Bri still sitting near doorway in the back corner, instead finds T-Hub Bomber. TK stepping up with some flashes in pocket. Doesn't seem to matter to Bri as he finds one more right back to Stevie and completes the trifecta, finding the last to TK. Does not seem to matter to him, and Bri steps up where absolutely needed.
And all that utility they still had in their back pockets, X13, 3 toxic babes, essentially funneling in 9-3. They only had 1 point of direction after laundry got cut off. And Bri he made a quick cleanup crew at the very end against 9-3. And now they're going to be able to go back to kids in dorms. I'm interested to see if 9-3 is going to have a different approach on their attacking side, because they really didn't do a good job of clearing out Biologic. They had Sledge out in not Sledge, my mistake, the other self-destructor. They had Buck out in the background waiting near security and just didn't check the rotation hole. He honestly got caught with his pants down, and Biologic punished him heavily for it. And maybe this time around they're going to try and approach it a little bit differently. I hope they do. And they have a slightly different lineup as well, not having a Jackal on the board. T-Hum Bomber will re-opt for that mAAd. And like I mentioned, no Buck on the board. Surprisingly, we're seeing GetQ rocking a Sledge, which isn't that horrible because now you get a whopping 3 sets of fragmentation grenades, making it 6 in total. That is a hefty amount, which honestly might actually help when flushing out Biologic. That might put him in a really awkward predicament.
I think there's a bit of concern now as we're heading back to an objective that 9-3 has lost, and It's kind of a bit of a backward situation from we saw in round 4, right? I mean, this is round 6. We saw it in round 2 where X13 defended this pretty successfully, and despite 9-3's very swift control of that small tower and taking control of dining as well, they were ultimately flooded out because Biologic just held with complete dominance that kitchen and did not allow for them to step forward. And when it wasn't Biologic that was defending that, it was J-Slime, I believe, from above, who was able to just say, hey, you want to step inside security? I'm watching my bros back. There ain't no way you're stepping through here. We have a hellhole, a kill hole right here in the floorboards, your rafters, and we're not letting you step forward. And that's exactly what we saw. And I think 9-3 are very scared of that. They're very suspicious, and they need to find a different style of attack if they want to step forward. They're obviously going for that. That nade found so much impact, taking out a lot of the anti-hard breach utility inside of that games room, and I think that's probably the best play we've actually seen from mAAd in this round, besides maybe the kill, but I think even the kill wasn't as important as removing and getting rid of those hard breach denials inside games room. Now you can have free reign, no Habana to breach, but you do still have the ace, TK, to make some more hellholes, some wall holes, to find some long shots maybe towards that attic side.
Just looking to be pretty normal, a standard push coming in through, a split push of both into attic from big tower and also the closet wall that leads in towards the foosball, the games area, I guess you can call it, where you get most of those default plants. So pretty standard stuff. You're going to probably have that soft destructor get Q to rotate on around to help out Maverick, unless he just wants to use basically his entire blowtorch, which wouldn't be a horrible idea because this is the only thing he really has to prioritize in this situation. So it still might be just T-Hunt Bomber and Focal focusing on that back take, sorry, but they've got to worry about a ton of utility, and also Bri the 1.5 optic, so he can hold down that long angle so long as he just does not get a plethora of stuns and nades being thrown at him. But there goes the utility dump and a cross peek by TK. He's waiting there patiently, and it rewards him with the first frag, favoring 9-3.
Called that long shot angle from those hellholes TK could make, and it's exactly what happened straight through that attic door, as we did see Bri attempt to, I guess, step away from the onslaught that was coming in from that attic push. You do see a yokai drone is in effect, not being able to remove. TK steps inside main hall, finds J-Slime in the process, and Focal finds one on top of it, but Biologic comes up huge, not letting this round fall apart just yet, making the damage even further as Snows takes out T-Hunt Bomber, who rushed inside of that small kid's room, and absolutely no chance for them to be able to get that diffuser down in a bit of a safety net. Gekyu steps down from game rooms inside main hall, loses the fight to the MP5 SD of Snows, and it's just one man left standing. Focal, who also has found 3 to their name, and Snows and Biologic, the buddy ace from a Nitro and the MP5 SD, stop the bleeding just slightly, and we will see a completely dominant round there by X13, despite all the odds that 9-3 brought to the table.
I think they still had plenty of fragmentation grenades too, 9-3. They could have done such a better job of clearing out the last 3. They had 2 beautiful frags off the bat, basically from the hands of TK and his pristine patience there on that round. And it just gets denied by Biologic with a simple toss, a fadeaway kill, a 2K, matter of fact. It nullified that advantage that they had by doing a really good job of clearing out with stun grenades and frag grenades, and also finding 2 kills off the rip. X13 holding down the fort and doing it well enough to get them their 4th round win, and now the sides have finally switched. Round number 7, 9-3 opting to go dorms as their first objective to hold, and a very different lineup in comparison to what X13 brought when they were defending this top floor on both occasions. We're seeing a Kaid and a Mute, which both can be found kind of effectively or just denied outright if Alcest has backup from Biologic on the sledge. And shockingly enough, we're seeing a Finka on the board, which doesn't see a lot of play inside of competitive, normally because her Finka adrenaline boost can really mess up the muscle memory that a lot of people can get with their mechanical aim. But maybe X13 have just been practicing this in one-off scrims perhaps, and maybe they want to just get really up in the faces of 9-3 just to catch them off guard, get them in an uncomfortable situation to give X13 a lot of pickup rounds that they're going to need as they're now in the attacking half, which is a lot more difficult to find round wins on for Oregon.
I love that electrical placement. Both of the 2 that we saw, one in the floorboards and then one on the throwing knife table. I guess it's a dartboard, but they're throwing knives into it instead, right? That's interesting. I mean, me looking at that, I would think it's just another knife on the dartboard. I'm stupid though, so maybe that's a different aspect. I'm also colorblind, so everything just looks alike anyways. I'm kind of, all messed up in the membrane, But well, I mean, to be fair, these players, they should know the difference. But it does maybe stop a nade from being able to find as much impact as we saw prior. It's a little bit farther away, maybe up in the air. And I think that since X13 kind of know what happened or should realize what happened, they may be able to replicate that. And since 9-3 know what they did, they should be able to deny it. So maybe it's kind of a back and forth kind of action situation. I think maybe time will have to tell, but 9-3 on the defense, still managing to stay alive, bought a little bit of time. Stevie is truly being a menace at this point in time. A very off-site roam as they're sitting down all the way towards laundry room on that basement side, maybe hoping for a very extended roam to maybe catch the big flank. T-Hunt Bomber eating a nade as it is tossed through by Elsys. Now Snow's going to be able to begin that process to destroy and get rid of that games room wall. Does just that, but J-Slime finds the flanking TK, but there's still one more if Stevie could flank at a moment's notice.
You may have that first frag favoring you, but like you mentioned, no one is aware of Stevie's true intentions, and Getgu is not that far away either. This could turn into just a jumble of frags coming out for 9-3 so long as they play their cards right. But drones coming out and towards the objective room. Stevie's actually relocated himself into the objective room to help out the rest of his team, but you still have GetQ on that roam. J-Slime, a 2K to his name, will find the head of T-Hunt Bomber, but Bry getting shut down from that previously mentioned roam. GetQ having some impact on the round will try to slow down X13 just a little bit, and if he has that information required by his team, he could throw out a C4 from underneath and maybe deny this plant from coming on down, and it will come down to a post-plant situation most likely, as X13 does not have a lot of time left on their hands, but they're finding the kills necessary to end out this round. J-Slime will get a third to his name, but will not get a fourth as Volca will deny it. LSS with a quick trade brings GetQ in a 1 versus 3, has to find the 4K, and he won't even find one on towards LSS, who just hops right on in the kid's window and shuts out the retreat back into sight. It'll be a quick round win for X13 and a really nice set of kills by J-Slime on that Finka.
Absolutely. And while I do need to wash my mouth out with soap after saying this next sentence, I saw a bit of cafe-style play in that map, in that round right there from X13, where they put a heavy emphasis on rappelling through windows and catching players of 9-3 off guard. We saw that towards games room window. That's a pretty common one to actually repel and play through, but I don't think we see enough teams taking advantage of that kid's window and being able to find kills from it. You talk about that games room wall that gets opened up. We saw TK do that on their attack, and we saw that it was able to find impact and find a kill as a player attempted to step away from Attic. But you can do the same thing over towards White Stairs by taking control of that kid's window and repelling from there. And yes, it can be a little bit dangerous. A player can come from behind one of the bunk beds in there and maybe find a shot against you, but you can repel to maybe take yourself into a bit more of an advantageous position. And think about it, when our new greatest operator comes through with her just phenomenal shield, that's going to change the entire meta of the game. It's going to be an interesting aspect to see whether or not that's going to be an even more important style push, taking control of these repelled windows. We know Cafe likes repelled windows. I always say it's the only interesting part about Cafe because it's almost make it or break it when it comes to an attack. And I think that other maps like Consulate or window repel simulators, you don't see enough of it on some of these T3, T4 special maps. And I think X13 are just using it to their advantage against this 9-3 defense.
I have a question for you that was actually bumbling around on Twitter, since you mentioned a bunch of different maps that have been reworked and are not seeing a rework. What maps would you like to see either added into the competitive pool or just chopped out, just removed, deleted? I think I know your deleted one, probably
Cafe deleted.
Anything
Absolutely.
other than Cafe,
okay.
perhaps?
Well, Chief likes to say on Twitter that he wants Bank back. And I think that's because he's got a small bank. So I'm going to go ahead and say I want Bank out for the count.
His funny up?
Yeah, for real.
Sounds about right.
So I think that Bank should be taken out. Not because I don't like the map Bank. It's just I would have to learn the callouts for the map to cast it. So I'm a bit of a lazy guy. So I think that one should be taken out. I think, actually, you know what? I'm going to change my answer. Every single map's out except for Chalet. That's the only map in. So let's just do Chalet only for an entire season.
I like Chalet. It kind of reminds me of a more balanced coastline.
One second, our producer's saying something stupid. He said, "Bring back Tower."
No.
Yeah, go ahead and end the stream. Yeah, your opinion has taken away my desire.
The only thing that Tower gives me that's nice is nostalgia, because that's when I started to pick up the game of Siege, was White Noise. And other than that, the map sucks. But It appears that X13 is not sucking at all with those entry frags. Bry gets 2. GetQ will get a quick trade, but he's on very little HP as another gunfight will be engaged, and he cannot respond to it just yet. He'll try to go for another repeat, perhaps. He's wasting some vital time with Biologic, but since X13 does have that man advantage, it's not really that much of a concern, and they still have a minute 20 on the board now. Officially, having that man advantage. The only thing they have to really worry about at this current moment is probably T-Hun Bomber, as he's just bombing away with the Shamika launchers from a very far distance, but he only has 4 left in the tank. Eventually those will completely run out, and Gekyu still has plenty of fuel left. He hasn't run out of frags to find yet as he gets another on towards Elcess, but J-Slime will finally eradicate him from the process. 3-on-2, once again favoring X13, and they still have more than enough time and only have to worry about the gun skill on 9 and 3 and only one more toxic bait.
Yeah, with only 45 seconds remaining, it's still dangerous. You do have the Shamikas being removed, no longer available, as T-Hun Bomber has kind of expended those. And while I do think Tachanka is a very viable operator, I don't think maybe he made as full use as they should have. It didn't buy enough time as anticipated. The last toxic bait will be tossed, but Snows just sits at it, does not necessarily care. The diffuser will go down. A 40-second post plant now available. Biologic lying down on White Stairs takes out T-Hun Bomber. We're 1 round away from match point right now for X13. They're looking to finish it. J-Slime just baiting out Focal to push, and that's exactly what happened. Biologic from White Stairs with yet another round-ending kill in a very successful fashion. It is now match point for this X13 roster.
Just playing in that close quarter position, very top of White, you get a perfect watch, a great eye to just look over on that post plant area, and really nothing much you could do there in the 3v1. Definitely a bit too much of a primary utility drained by 9 and 3. Definitely used it a little bit too early, but their hand was kind of forced as they were already down on the man count off the bat. Can't blame them that much, but there isn't that much room for error left on the side of 9 and 3 because they're now looking at a match point situation. It's 6 and 2. X13 only needing 1 more round, and I think the proper play here is to just attempt laundry and supply because that top floor has not worked out at all for 9 and 3. They tried 2 completely different strategies, and neither one really met the expectations that 9 and 3 had when going up against X13. But now they're playing a little bit more into a playbook that looks very similar to X and 13. The only difference here that I can spot is that Gekyu is rocking the Kaid here instead of, I believe they had another type of utility-based operator. I think they had a Malusi on the board in this situation for X13. So that's the only major difference here. And honestly, I think Malusi's probably the better pick here unless Gekyu is going to use his Electro Claws for some of the primary hard walls rather than those hatches because you've got a Maverick on the board for Elcess. So that directly counters it. And yeah, Gekyu will be attempting just that. So great play by him to actually utilize Kaid properly here for this basement floor on a round that probably matters most before we go into map number 2.
In my opinion here, John, Kaid just isn't that strong in this map when you've let Maverick come through. I say it all the time when you're in the ban phase. If you ban out Maverick, you are then required to ban out Kaid. If for maybe Clubhouse, you can say get away with banning out Maverick and then not banning Kaid because there's still some outlets to get around it. But for a map like this, no. You need to ban out Kaid if you're going to ban out Maverick. They left both, and I don't see why Kaid's a very strong choice on this map when they know there's a Maverick. Yes, if they can find Elcess early on and get that opening pick onto him, maybe you could say it's super viable in that options, but what are the chances we see that go through? And I just don't see it as the most likely option. I think X13 are going to try and do everything they can to keep Elcess alive as long as they can, and that's exactly what I expect we're going to see. A nade tossed early, though, from Bry is going to tag a little bit of damage on the TK towards those freezer staircase, but it doesn't seem to matter for too long as we do see X13 very swiftly gather some offshoot angles, making sure it's clear towards big towers. They step in from that big floor. Elcess with a dangerous peek. Thank goodness Look goes away and lets Bry do it instead. But unfortunately, Stevie the Menace is just that, the menace towards those rear stage, and Bry will be felled because of it.
Bry not anticipating Stevie just to be sitting there and waiting for a swing to go down. That's going to cost them that entry lead. Bry off the board, and I believe he lost some of his frag grenades. I think he tossed out one, but that was really it. He still has a couple, though, in your back pocket, so it's not really that big of a concern. And yeah, Bry only did toss out one. Now Biologic will try to burn through some of those Vulcan shields, some ADSs as well, perhaps, as he will allow for J-Slime to get a little bit closer in towards Freezer. Still a very difficult task to accomplish here as you're down on that man count, and it doesn't really seem like 9-3 is phased in this position. They've prepared for that as they've basically committed to this full anchor in towards the bottom floor, but all of a sudden X13, they get a downed player of GetQ in a DVNO and also a frag for Snows favoring on towards Tihan Bomber. All of a sudden X13 in a much better position here, but it's not completely over for 9-3 as well.
With only 45 seconds remaining, plenty of time for 9-3 to kind of turn this one around. Gekkyu's in a bad place, needs to be picked up. Not sure it's necessarily going to go through. Elsis makes it a little bit more damaging for them as TK is out, but immediately one player down, Elsis, but saved by Biologic, and Snows is there to find the last, cleaning up where necessary, just peeks in from that laundry room, finds the last kill, and just takes this map entirely in strides for X13. A spectacular performance from them, and I'm sorry to say it, if that's what we're seeing on one of the T3 and T4 special maps, we can probably predict we might see something at least somewhat similar in final score on the next one that's just the same T3, T4 special at Clubhouse. Yes, there's some variation because it's a bit more of a lateral attack, no matter what it is. You're playing a little bit more up and down, but we saw that from X13. We saw them defend very aggressively that second floor, despite it being a first floor objective. We've seen them play the lateral gameplay, and I think that it'll fall right to their own, I guess, strides when we see Clubhouse.
You can only hope, right? Because map 1 was a little bit of a slaughter fest. I feel like we're going to the butcher shop, getting out some brand new meats. 9-3 is on a discount today, apparently. That was really rough. I don't think a single defensive round win was had for 9-3. No, it wasn't. That was a rough start, to say the least. Hopefully Clubhouse is a lot more different. I'm really hoping on that because I know 9-3 can definitely show up when needed to, and map 2 is going to be a need. But we'll go into a short little break, get map number 2 set up, and then return as quickly as possible to have the match casted and see how this next chapter in the storyline between 9-3 and X13 actually plays out. Well, with map number 1 being a bit of a lopsided affair favoring X13 7-2 on Oregon, we're almost about ready to get Clubhouse underway between these two teams. The question being, will we see 9-3 actually reign supreme on this second map pick and bring us, sadly, to Cafe Dostoevsky, even though I would love to see how these two teams play on that dreaded map? Or is X13 going to just wrap this one up, get the 2-0 victory, and lock themselves in on the semifinals with Mystic being their next challenger?
Keep in mind that X13 was the team that ended up picking Oregon, and we see 9-3 is the team that ended up picking this map of Clubhouse. So this could be a factor where they take their own maps and have to play the decider, and it kind of can be an up and air match. But from the way that we've seen and the way that we know Clubhouse is typically played, I think that I have to give the edge to X13, but I definitely think there is a possibility for 9-3 to take this, and I think that it's really going to come down to how much have they VOD reviewed, how much are they going to just completely twist their playstyle from map 1 into map 2. And I think they're going to have to do a lot of changes. I think there does need to be a universal switch to going forward. They need to figure out what went wrong in map 1. And I'm not sure a 4-minute, 5-minute break is necessarily going to be enough to do that. And in all honesty, I'm pretty sure both teams are probably just listening to Donda right now, like just chilling with the Me6 bot in their chat like they were before. I mean, they got to be talking strats. You got to have that communication. And I'm a little worried we may not see that, but I think 9-3 is a competent enough roster to step forward and know when to look at strats and know when to change things up. But I think X13 are at the same level, and no matter what 9-3 changes, X13 is very quick to adapt. We saw that from round 1 to round 2.
Maybe they muted the Me6 bot just to really make sure that they get everything refined and prepared for Clubhouse. I think that it's going to be a lot closer, to say the least. I don't know who exactly would come out on top. If we're talking theoreticals, like you mentioned, this could be 9-3's victory, but the fact that Clubhouse and Oregon definitely do breed out some comparisons, it is definitely looking a little bit more favored towards X13. But of course, we have to actually get into the matchup to see who will reign supreme. And then if we go to map number 3 or we just end off the stream after Clubhouse, that'll be the real question. I'm hoping that we do see a lot more consistency for 9-3, because on the rounds where they did play a lot more methodically and they took their time, they did a really good job and ended up winning a couple of vital rounds. But other than that, they just kind of got brushed to the wayside and just became a back thought for X13 as they just kept winning out rounds left and right.
Yeah, we're going to quickly jump right into the game and be able to see this map ban phase, or sorry, operator ban phase. You've already seen the maps go through and be banned out. And I don't think Clubhouse is necessarily going to be super different than what we saw in Oregon. I do think that we may actually see a Maverick get banned out instead. Habanas can be strong as well, but I think there's a lot of really good counters to Habana right now in the meta that you can argue that she can stay and it would still be an option. Because, I mean, you can Electro Claw it out and then, I guess, play in that direction as long as you have taken out Maverick to get rid of the possibility of it being countered. So this right here, this last pick of the attacker side is going to be a really important one. X13, they get to start it off and they get to decide the first offensive ban. So it could set things in motion for them to, I guess, counterplay. And they're going to go ahead and opt not to do the, I guess, long con play of banning up Maverick, instead jumping for the Habana. And my assumption here for the defensive bans is probably going to be something very normal. Say probably Wamai, Malusi, Valkyrie, Mira. I mean, those 4 options are pretty standard play. I think it's probably going to be a Valkyrie and Mira again, though.
Maybe a Cade, perhaps, but the Wamai ban, definitely a possibility, especially since X13 did bring out a ton of Wamai on Laundry, so maybe a bit of a more team counter. Doesn't mean that you just only ban Wamai when you know their team's going to bring it. Wamai's a really good operator regardless of that, even though he did experience a nerf 80 bajillion seasons ago. At least that's what it feels like. And no, we're going to see the exact same ban phase.
There's not even been an 80 bajillion seasons.
You know, sometimes my mind just likes to play tricks on me. Also,
I'm right at Twit longer right now, dude. You're exposed, bro. That's it. You're going out.
Not the first time, for a very different reason. Not going to talk about. But one thing I do want to talk about is a funny story. You mentioned that Habana can be countered with examples like impact tricking, what I'm assuming, and other things like a Kaid, since he is allowed. I have a really good story to tell. Back when Habana just recently got her Xyrus charge changes, and she wasn't banned, she wasn't realized, like, hey, we need to ban her to make the basement floor holdable on Clubhouse. A team, instead of banning Habana, brought 4 separate sets of impact grenades to counter the Habana trick on Kitchen Hatch. And you know what? It worked. So it may seem tedious and dumb, But if you really want to overemphasize it and maybe ban out a Maverick instead to make a bomb site like CCTV much more enjoyable to defend as that defensive team, then just bring 4 sets of impact grenades, and that's all you have to do. But that also seems like a very heavy sacrifice just for one bomb site instead of banning her out. But, you know, you can try dumb stuff like that, and every now and again, luck will smile upon you, and it'll actually guarantee you that round victory. But sadly, we're not going to see that. We're not going to see Church play first. It'll be CCTV instead with the Wamai and Jaeger combination on the board. But instead of X13 rocking it, since they're obviously on the attacking side on the first half, it'll be 9-3. Again, kind of taking from that textbook instead, but I don't really blame them. Having a Wamai to defend Raptors is a really good idea, and it basically forces the attacking team to go in towards construction room. And if you don't clear out someone like T-Hunt Bomber, who is sitting near Raptors, then he's got a really long angle to also deny that cash room push from construction.
I think another big aspect was when we saw like a mass amount of impacts go through as like the big counter to Hibana. It was also when shield meta was kind of raining down in a really aggressive fast. That's why a lot of shields got removed, and now it's a little bit more viable because of that. But you know, you can argue in multiple directions. One thing I want to argue is the fact that this objective is extremely dangerous for defenders now and his favorite attackers in recent times, and it's starting off to, I guess, rear its ugly head in a pretty dominant fashion as we do see Brian with a repelled shot from the eastern suburb find one through that breached wall and taking out T-Hunt Bomber's head. A very nasty shot. I think one maybe even Brian did not anticipate going through, but one player already down to the first 30 seconds and now only 2 minutes remain. X13 starting off extremely strong.
They gotta nerf the LMG, man, because players like Bry can just hold down M1.
Just get rid of her.
Asians, I mean, hey, maybe I think it'd be pretty dumb, honestly. They should have done something like that on operators like Blackbeard. But Bry again, just holding down M1, gets a second for himself already on round number 1. I mean, maybe nerfing that AK on Zofia was just not the proper play, because now you can just hold down M1 like a maniac and just get so many frags favoring yourself, but finally some kills not favoring Bry. It'll be GetQ to get first one for his team on Elsest, and Biologic will end up wrapping it on towards GetQ. Focal will respond with a frag on towards Bry with the SMG-11, and now Focal having to find another 3 just for himself to try to win out round number 1. He has a couple Toxic Babes left to maybe try and stall out this plant, but he doesn't have that much HP and just runs in a J-Slime in a latch-ditch attempt to deny that plant from going on down. X13, a beautiful start to the attacking round on CCTV, and they'll already take 1 for the books.
I really liked that wallbang. I really did. I was kind of shocked. I really liked that wallbang. It was really interesting. But yeah, I mean, I've mentioned this so many times before. Clubhouse is a map that's iffy in all accounts, especially considering the fact that your go-to tertiary choice of playing that bedroom and gym side is honestly my new go-to map choice for this thing. It's basement and master bedroom, because this security room, the CCTV side, is just not strong. It doesn't work out. It's so favored for the attackers in recent times, it's not even a point of contention. I'd rather somebody play bar and stock, even though that's obviously going to be a competent one in new times coming up when we're getting that cool change coming through. But I'd rather somebody play bar and stock, because every time I've seen bar and stock played a whole 2 times, it's worked out 100% of the time. So go ahead and feel free to shock me 9-3 by playing bar stock and then hopefully not losing to X13, because I want to keep that 100% streak. But it's just CCTV is just such a difficult such a difficult objective to hold. It's just not viable, competitively viable, with the way that attacking teams have been, I guess, adapting to the defensive choices most teams opt to bring.
One of the main reasons that you just can't bandit trick at all, because Satra's always banned. You've got that Maverick, and you're like, well, Plat Wall's going to get opened up off the bat, so it's going to come down to how well we stop either a Raptors push or a construction push, and it almost never ends well for a defensive team anymore nowadays, especially when you have a team like X13 that have good gun skill. They're able to win those gunfights off the rip like they have been on map number 1, and they're replicating that on map number 2 at Rye, finding those 2 very easy and almost slightly lucky kills with that LMGE. But when you have such a deadly gun at your fingertips with so much ammo, almost like an attacker-sided Alda, to put it into perspective, you can kind of just blind fire whatever you want and really not get into any trouble, but that missed drone might actually punish out Zofia for it. But no, he'll eventually end up slotting out Stevie. That'll force him back in towards the lower regions of blue. So now Bry's going to play a little bit more assertive, start clearing through that barbed wire with his lifelines. But overall, a pretty standard push going underway for X13, and a really slow and anchor setup by 9 and 3. They're just waiting for X13 to come to them and try to make that first mistake.
I think one of the big things I'm really like seeing right now from Bry is the fact that when you're rocking a player like Zofia, an operator like Zofia now at the LMGE, you don't necessarily have to rely on player skill. With it, you can pre-fire a lot of angles, and as long as you know where to aim and have the game sense to aim, you're going to nail it. This is not a negative for Bry. Bry is a phenomenal player and can aim like nobody's business, but you combo that with somebody that has the game sense and the aim to do it, and she's nigh unstoppable. She's extremely strong. Should I say a raid boss as an operator alone? She's just too viable in the right hands, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing in recent times. Unfortunately, what we're not seeing is this hatch actually being effectively breached inside of Kitchen, a dangerous position. There are no more impacts left available for the 9-3 roster. They were very wary with those electric claws to help assist. Nitro's are ready to toss through the main hall. This one seemingly doing nothing at first, but unfortunately Elsist walks right into it, and TK finds the kill with it. And though a minute may remain, it looks to be that X13's assault is starting to fizzle out as only 3 players remain. Not much utility left to their name as well. There's only 1 nade in the hands of Biologic, and Snows only has 2 flashes in the pocket. And when, I'm sorry to break it to you, 45 seconds left, and Bry has been taken out as TK is on a slaughter, nearing a possible ace in this round if they are as mobile as we want them to be to see that come through. Doesn't seem to matter just yet. Biologic steps up, finds Gekyu through a wall. Snows finds their own to T-Hunt Bomber. Both of them stepping in from the west side. 30 seconds on the clock. Biologic will go through Kool-Aid wall. It does not seem to matter as Focal is there. And just 1 player remaining. A Snows steps through the hole made by Biologic. Tries the fight, but Focal is there. A buddy ace, John, between the two. And a very successful defense in this basement site.
You said some of my favorite words, Kool-Aid wall and buddy ace. That's
I
really
literally,
of you.
in
I'm
my
glad
head,
you
I
were
was like,
thinking
what
about
is
me
this
during
wall?
that play-by-play.
Yeah, I'm like, what is this wall? And I was like, I know it. I know what John calls
That
it.
is-
Kool-Aid.
yeah.
And I was like, yes, I know it.
Because
I'll remember it.
Because you see Sledge open up that wall a fair amount of time, or an Ashe back when she was played a lot more in the meta, and it just gets opened up all the time. So it's the funny joke of, oh yeah, by Kool-Aid Man. So that's what they call it, just a single Kool-Aid wall. I don't know if it's still called that by most people, but if you talk about it and explain it, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Calls are so diverse in Rainbow Six, especially based upon regions, NA and EU and APAC, the LATAM. They've all got different kind of call outs in certain areas. So that wall could be something completely different from what Scott and I have said. But enough of that tangent. That was a great round by 9 and 3, a really good recovery round, and they really did play their cards right. They didn't really over assert themselves. The only one who got into some dicey situations was TK, but he was expecting that, to be honest, so it wasn't really that big of a high risk, high reward situation for him. A lot of rewards though, but not so much risking there. And X13, at least they're not going to have to go up against the exact same defensive hold. They now have to try to and attack top floor, gym and bedroom. Might be a little bit more challenging than a CCTV push because X13 did a flawless job of that, to say the least. It might come down to Bry possibly finding some early on entries once again, because when he did allow for that space to be made for X13, there wasn't really much that 9 and 3 could really do.
I think I have to agree with you. And right now, a new objective is being played. Bry almost finds a kill through that wall that was being reinforced at that moment. Bry's now just standing like, oh, so close, so close. But in all honesty, I don't think X13 are going to have a very hard job of reaching that eastern subroof and stepping up into CCTV. We've seen them do it before when it was actually defending that objective. And it's really going to come down to this money room wall. How hard can they defend this? How successfully can we see X13 attack it? And one of the best ways to do that is to maybe stop the roam that could come down from below from Mudpin. And we're seeing exactly that. A Claymore being dropped down. Bry is able to watch the rear of the flank and is going to bring a drone up to maybe catch some extra assistance with an extra set of eyes. But there goes swiftly that eastern suburb wall. And now the battle for control of this money wall is going to have to go through. And Gekyu, not in a very safe position, is fighting from these eastern stairwells, this red staircase, and is going to have a dangerous position to try and step away. But Tia Bomber steps in with the MX4 Storm and pops out. out. Biologic with it as well in a 5v4. 1 minute and 10 seconds and 2 players down.
That 1.5 boding well for both Gekyu and also the alibi of Tihan Bomber. Snow is going to get slightly blinded by his own stun and has no ID. He's still playing behind the shield. Gekyu now with 2k for himself. It's all up to Elses and J-Slime as they haven't even fully cleared out this back area of top of red and also Cash. They get rid of the player in Cash, but Gekyu, a third now, will still shut out most of X13. But finally, J-Slime wraps up that frag as well, but he's got to find an ace as well into this round. Still plenty of time to maybe go in a bit of a rotation here, but you got to find 3 more frags still. And if 9-3 just simply plays this one very passively and doesn't over-exemplify or overextend themselves here, this is just an easy play-out round. You're just bleeding out the seconds here and basically forcing J-Slime to try to find some kind of necessary frags that he's never going to get guaranteed because 9-3 is just not going to allow him to do it.
Yeah, with only 45 seconds remaining, there's just not much time for J-Slime to work with. We do see them, I guess, baiting it out, maybe making 9-3 think they're going to push from a different direction, but instead rotates back through red stairs, steps up now through construction from cash room. A mute jammer is in place, and there is one player watching it, and a very dangerous position going forward. Sees the arm, and TK will be felled in the process, not able to be finished off until J-Slime re-peaks. And there's the 3K to their name. Very dangerous. I guess Toxic Babe tossed to deny the push that may go through to VIP, but nothing necessarily coming of it just yet. J-Slime steps into the objective, does get shot through main door, has to be wary now, lying down prone. Not much time left, and Stevie will just finish this one off in a spectacular fashion. 9-3 almost bled away the last few moments of that round, but you cannot understate how successful that cash room hold was for this 9-3 defense.
You could tell they were starting to get just a little worried. They're like, all right, it's 1v2. He may be low on health, but he has a chance to win this. So the player back up near red stairs, which is really waiting out the moment. It's not red, sorry, main stair. I'll always mix up the two. Maybe I'm the one who's secretly colorblind. You never know.
Yeah.
That
staircase is red too, right? I mean, like it's technically red.
Yeah, that's
right?
why.
Like,
that's why.
It's just you classify red staircase as
the
the corner pocket one by CCTV.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't get that one either, right? I don't. That was technically it's called Eastern Stairs, right? Or like East Stairs, but it's just red stairs. Right?
You know, like I said, the diversity of callouts. It's not technically wrong, but you're still kind of wrong. Oh well, you make mistakes. We're only human after all. But at the very end, 9-3 stopped making mistakes. They denied the 1v2 from actually being a clutch for J-Slime. That could have been a really beautiful ace, and it did not happen. But what will happen is we're going to see a return to CCTV and Cash, which has been the only bomb site that 9-3 has not successfully hold. Now, there were a fair amount of reasons for it. Obviously, it's a lot more difficult to actually defend this bomb site nowadays. It's honestly lost its pizzazz, but if they just don't overcommit themselves when trying to engage Bry, who has a very annoying gun to deal with, you might be a little bit better off, especially in that middle and end game where X13 really has to force themselves onto you, and there isn't as much room for them to do that.
I really like the attempt right now that TK is going for, making a VIP rotation hole if necessary. That could actually come to bite 9-3 in the rear. I mean, quite literally, as the flank could come around, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be a huge point of contention. I think X13 are just really wanting to stay to the tried and true eastern wall, you know, taking that subroof and just clearing in a direct way, but TK is trying to go for a bit of a mute trick at this point in time, trying to maybe jam it out, and we do know that it's going forward. Elsis will have to make the rotation over. It should be pretty obvious where it is able to, I guess, figure it out by roaming back and forth across the wall, and Snow's will be able to shoot it out. Now Elsis can rotate elsewhere, figure out where they need to go to figure out and get the job done, and we do see a bit of an important placement over on that attic side, and the rafter side, I guess I should say, inside of garage, and that's going to be a very important placement for this 9-3 defense to step up, but seemingly an important placement on the opposing side into a different objective. It's going to be that gym-sided hold, denying J-Slime to push in from Jacuzzi, and already finding X13's first loss against this 9-3 side in this fourth round.
Whole point of the roam is just to waste time here, but Elcest, a great shot on a TK, and also Gekyu gets down. He hops down through the hatch and he might get revived, but oh, there's a frag grenade. You've got to get away from it, Stevie. That might finish up the kill on the Gekyu, but they both evade it narrowly. There's only going to be one frag favoring out X13. You're in an equalized position for that man count, and There are some players that are a little worse for wear on both sides. GetQ just now getting revived, and LSS having to go through a handful of gun engagements is also very low on HP as well. Anything could really happen here. It'll all come down to this two-sided push, whether Bry ends up meeting his maker on that flat rappel, and he'll end up not dying on out. He gets the frag onto Stevie, and LSS responds with another on towards Stevie, leaving it in the hands of Focal and GetQ. Shield getting destroyed, possibly forcing GetQ a little bit farther back, but luckily he has Focal there to try to stop this one out. Wide swing comes in through. He finds the kill on Bry, but he was able to finish off GetQ in the process before that happens, leaving Focal trying to clutch out. Round number 4, 4, 9, and 3. He'll get another on the Snows. That's the carrier down here. He just has to play time, but there's still 30 seconds left, and damage is still being done to Focal here, as a double-sided push will be attempted by Biologic and LSS. This is a round to be lost here for 9 and 3, but the plant is going down. If he solidifies this kill on towards LSS, this could be a massive clutch, but he has no information to help him here in this post-plant situation, and that will be the cause of death. Biologic just waiting out in the open, gets the last frag for X13, and they're going to win that one out quite seamlessly at the very end, just playing it calmly and taking those advantages when needed most.
Look at the crosshair placement for both of those players. Obviously, Focal, when the wide swing came through on that eastern subroof, knew exactly where to aim, the amazing flick to find the kill, stepped up and maybe attempted to take the shot over towards Cash Room, was readily available for, and I think the diffuser was attempted in a different position. They tried to move behind Green Box and was shot in the process, and it took Biologic, though, basically the rest of the round to grab that and place it in a bit more of an advantageous position. Had to be extremely wary of Focal. Was at that point in time, Focal is, I guess, a sort of semi-boss, right, in that situation. I love the term raid boss, and I think at this point it's kind of like a mid-tier boss, because you're scary. That player's popping off. They're feeling the groove. Yes, the pressure is on them, but they're also extremely strong, and that's going to be something that you have to be wary of. They're feeling hot. They're getting hot. Everything's adding up to them, and yes, your ego can grow inflated from that, and I'm just saying that's a bit of a problem in T3 and T4 Siege, but it didn't seem to necessarily be a problem for Focal, who I guess gunned up when necessary and did find impact, just could not win it out in that 2v1 because X13 knew what they needed to do. Biologic with a great position for the crosshair, fired in a pristine moment. I was honestly shocked that hit, because in my screen that dot was above the head of Focal at that point, but you know, SMG-11 is basically wizardry, so it does what it does best and finds the kill.
Just the off angle, health advantage as well. Everything was just working out at that last moment for X13, because Focal was terrified and scared. He's in a 1v2. His teammates are trying to desperately give him comms or just leave him in silence, all that pressure on your shoulders. And this is a map where you need to get as many round wins as you can, especially on that defensive side, where although we see a lot more 3-3 splits now in Clubhouse, it's still technically defender-sided. With all that being said, now a lot of pressures on 9 and 3, and that's not a great start to your round, as J Slime catches GetQ just walking around on towards main stairs and cuts them out of the picture now, and Stevie also being forced back a little bit near dummies as well. It's just not a great start for X13, or pardon, for 9 and 3. It's a great start for X13, needless to say, and it's funny enough because last time this bottom floor bomb site was played, it was the exact opposite, where 9 and 3 were just looking perfect in all means.
And I think at this point in time, X13 need to kind of do what we saw them do in between round 1 and round 2 on last map of Oregon. And I think that they're definitely capable of doing so. A try and true map like this can definitely be a bit of a scary concept, but we'll have to, I guess, figure it out across the board. And Nitro does manage to go off. That's going to be TK's, who finds impact into the, well, I guess, bottom of Biologic as they attempted to kind of step away. We've already seen TK do that before, and they're just continuing to, I guess, fall victim to that in the process. And that's not something you necessarily want to see happen for this X13 roster. You expect more from them, and in all honesty, I'm a little bit shocked to see it work more than once, but it happens to go through, and a minute and 20 seconds do remain, so 9-3 do have the opportunity to try and defend against it. Bryce still up and staying with the LMGE, has plenty of opportunity to step forward, and it does look to be they're maybe teasing an opportune time to drop down Mud and go through Secret. I don't know if that's necessarily going to work, because 9-3 have been pretty dominant in that defensive stance of maintenance.
X13 really just waiting for the perfect moment to strike, and they'll find it as T-Hunt Bomber overexposes himself. Stevie, almost doing the exact same thing, will get lowered closer towards 0 health, but He'll still be alive for a little while longer. About 45 seconds remaining here for X13. Nothing that they can't handle here, especially having that man advantage. They have intel as to where Stevie's playing. He's very close to gun rack, and Snows now going for the plant. He's just in the middle of the bomb site here. Stevie will try to deny it by finding a frag on towards Elsis, but Snows will confirm it down on the plant. We're in the post situation. Snows, another to his name, and J Slime follows suit, leaving it up to TK. He's across the way in the exact opposite bomb site, and he's got to worry about both the horizontal and vertical planes here. They still have someone sitting up above. That's J Slime near kitchen. He'll rotate on around me, trying to deny TK from trying to get in towards the other bomb site. And Forge is just waiting patiently, waiting on out towards blue, and he catches out TK before he can even get the rotation confirmed. X13, again, a great post-plant situation, and that lack of intel really biting 9 and 3 in the behind.
And Intel is such an important game. That's the reason why you're seeing Valkyries get banned out. That's the reason why Giannis had such an uptake or an uptick, I should say, in playtime. Not just because she has a strong arsenal in her pocket and she's got those nades and she's a good entry. She can gather information. Those Gemini replicators are successful. They work. They do everything necessary, and information is exactly what you need to have. So in my opinion, the downfall of 9-3 is maybe not using mutes to the, I guess, full advantage. And I think that's going to be a bit of a scary option for them, kind of worrying about whether or not X13 are going to continue to, I guess, use their information to their advantage. And I think that's definitely what they're looking to do. I would say TK needs to adapt a little bit more thorough. Maybe a better placement for those mute jammers. Maybe not just use them as ways to deny hard breaches. You can bring a Kai to do the same job and just a little bit of a different stance. I mean, there's a lot of viable options to have it work forward, and I think the scariest portion right now for this, gym and master bedroom push is going to be that jacuzzi hardwall, and of course that, I guess, money room push. And if I'm X13, I'm stepping nowhere near that CCTV room, staying away from this eastern suburb. I am not stepping into garage whatsoever. That was such a lopsided and dominant affair for 9-3 in the round. We saw that I think X13 is going to have some scars they need attending.
They just weren't able to get rid of GetQ nor Tihan Bomber, who was just wide swinging out opponents, because you've got the MX Storm and a 1.5. I mean, you have that reliable weapon with just busted stats to do it. Maybe this time around he won't be playing as aggressive, but he'll still be trying to find those entries for his team. And X13, they're opting to do pretty much the same strat like they just did a few rounds ago, where they get control of CCTV, try to flush out that mild extension in towards Cash Room and also the top of Red, and that's pretty much all that they're going to be writing about at the current moment until they actually see some players to get into engagements for. I believe they spotted out Stevie with some sort of drone. Now he's going to have to back off, not play as aggressive as he wanted to. But other than that, this is all really standard stuff. The only thing I could hope for X13 is just to get a better pinch onto players like Tihan Bomber and GetQ. That way they're not dominating the kill feed and giving another round for 9 and 3. If it becomes a 4-on-3 split, this could be massive for X13. But GetQ, again, stepping up to the plate on this gym and bedroom hold, doing a magnificent job on the red extension.
I'm a bit worried now as we do see that X13 are once again looking to step in from CCTV. Look how many magnets we have right here. GetQ has never been a safer human being in his entire life. This is absolutely ridiculous at this point in time. There's no way they're going to get any utility dumped inside, and they just need to make the rotation to a different direction. Information isn't anything right now. Absolutely everything's going to be yoinked away. Another nade from Biologic taken swiftly to the other side, but Elsis and J-Slime were flanked from a different direction, found impact onto Tian Bomber and GetQ. They were actually able to take the man out, and were actually able to find that impact. Somehow used a gun instead, because guess what? Bullets can't be stopping the magnet, though that would be a very interesting buff/nerf to have it go forward. But J-Slime finds yet another double kill to their name as they take out Stevie. Focal and TK are the last two standing. X13 stepping up with a vengeance this time, not wanting to replicate the failures they had prior. Snow finds one more to TK. Focal last man standing. We've seen this before, but nowhere is it going. Elsis steps up, stepping in from construction door, and completely swings this route in this half in favor of X13.
I understand, TK. You've got to get the run out, try to find a frag, but leaving Focal in that 1v4, that's rough. Especially inside of logistics. You're not immediately stopping a plant or a push into the bomb site. Just a rough round for 9 and 3, especially since X13 knew what they were getting themselves into, and they're like, all right, fellas, we can clear out cache and red. We just got to be a little bit more calculated about it. They burned through the magnets and then instantly pounced upon GetQ, and then forcing T-Hunt Bomber by himself, got him taken care of as well by a completely different player. I believe it to be J-Slime. Much better push overall. And now they're in a comfortable position of 4-2. We're not seeing a 3-3 split. We are seeing the 4-2, but the other way around. Now X13 being on that defensive half. This could be another sad but true situation where it's a second 7-2 victory favoring them. If they do a masterful job on either gym and bedroom or CCTV, this could be all that 9-3 wrote, and they'll be out of the playoffs for good.
I think a bit of a dangerous round right now for 9-3. I think all these next and up-and-coming rounds are dangerous rounds because R6 is a defensive-sided game. It favors the defense in 99% of scenarios. Maybe not Chalet. In T3 and T4, maybe even T2, you could argue that Coastline favors the attack, but I mean, Pro League stats so that it's still in favor of the defense. But I mean, we're not necessarily all gunning high. We're not all biologic. We haven't all been there, so I guess it's not necessarily a huge concern to have in a point of contention. But X13 are looking pretty aggressively forward. They tried to peek through Jacuzzi Wall, 2 players, Bry, and of course, I actually can't catch who the players. It's the Elsis that was doing it at that time, as retreating away as they were failing to find the kill. Biologic is holding an aggressive angle, watching towards from main staircase at the bottom steps on the center floor, maybe watching towards that bathroom entrance, maybe hoping to deny anyone that tries to step in through strip, and I think that could be dangerous for them, but I don't think 9-3 are necessarily going to step in that direction. They're looking to do more of an eastern and, of course, western style push, and not full west like strip, maybe a little bit more centralized going in through this, southwest parking entrance.
X13 mostly on just an anchor. I think they have a little bit of passive roamers that can just kind of back off when they need to. I think Biologic is again just on that role of, yeah, I'll play a little bit overextended, and then if I need to back up, I will. He's been playing in those positions where it's like you either play that or die, or you can peel away quite quickly. That's what he's been mainly up to, and he almost gets droned out there, but X13 will again just play it safe. They'll back off when they need to, and they're anticipating that kitchen push to come underway pretty soon, but before that happens, 9-3 will opt to get the Moto hatch opened on up. Maybe running in towards Church might be the better play here, but they still have about 1:20 on the board. So long as they can begin that execute with about 40 seconds on the clock, it's not completely over, especially when you find that first kill. GetQ eliminating J-Slime will definitely give 9-3 a lot more breathing room to try to get their 3rd round win.
With only 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining, I mean, there's still plenty of time for X13 to, I guess, stop the bleeding that's come through ever so slightly. Maybe just a small band-aid to go through. It's only 1 player deficit, but, still lots of work to be done. 9-3 have a position where they can kind of step forward. They've got that safety net. They've got Memo completely under control. Stevie may have to worry about a flank, but I don't think it's possible for it to come through because X13 are just staying straight into their bootstraps. They're completely staying anchored up on site. They don't really have a huge point of concern when it comes to that Memo side. They do need to watch the bottom side foothold shot throughs connecting over towards Memo through Kool-Aid Wall, as we've already seen, but it doesn't necessarily have to occur in that direction. Focal does find one, and Snows is able to get a refrag, but it doesn't seem to matter as GetQ and TK pop off and leave it all in the hands of Biologic, who's able to find one of their own. Damage goes through, connecting over towards that utility room, does find Focal in the process, but GetQ and TK full HP and do not have a big scare for them as Biologic takes a little bit more damage and TK finishes the job. I mean, a very dominant performance here from the attacking side. They're looking spectacular, and that was not something I necessarily anticipated X13 to be able to deny.
Having that first entry really did favor 9-3, obviously, and then they really didn't let down on the pressure. They slowed it down because they had that breathing room, like I mentioned, and then they realized, all right, we can get triple wall opened up, force out the 1 player behind that wall, get rid of him, and we basically have control of Church. You can get that plant down, and then we'll just play a little bit of a keep away game, and also cleanup game too, because they were just picking off players one by one. Biologic, if he had a little bit more HP and just some better intel, maybe he would have won that, but being on such little health, having to run up against a really strong AR in the hands of Thermite, that 5.56, and also the LMGE, not much you can do there, sadly, even for a professional player, especially if you play your cards right like 9-3 did. But X13 will reattempt to go the exact same bomb site. Now, I would chew into them a lot more for normal standards, but on map number 1. They did the exact same thing on their first offensive round. They lost it on probably one of the most favorable bomb sites of Laundry, and then they went it again with the exact same lineup, and then they outperformed themselves. They really left me and Scott speechless. So I'm hoping they can replicate that, do the exact same thing, and give 9 and 3 another bit of a little run for their money, I suppose.
A run for their money, and I think that's definitely not something we need to see. They kind of need to adapt. We saw them adapt. I brought those up 3 or 4 times between round 1 and round 2 in Oregon, and we just haven't necessarily seen that switch. Maybe we could say the difference between round 2 and round 6, you could say that, or sorry, round 3 and round 6, you could say that, but I don't think it was a big enough difference to necessarily warrant the fact that X13 have made that switch in their brain to, I guess, kind of contend back against the 9-3 Assault. And yes, X13 did take the lead at the half in a pretty dominant one of 2 rounds, but 9-3 have already brought it down to that 1 differential. And if they play anywhere like they did last round, we could definitely see it go completely in the different direction. But let's take into account the fact that we saw X13 play basement twice in the first map, and it didn't work out for them the first time, but it definitely worked out for them the second time. We could see a replication of that, where it failed the first time around, and the second time is where it is successful. Maybe that's what they're gunning for. Maybe that's what they're doing. We didn't necessarily see them do the spawn peek from that jacuzzi wall, so maybe X13 just saying, hey, we lost that one, let's not lose another, let's play a little bit more seriously.
And definitely finding that first entry for X13 or just not dying off the rip, either one would be a much better position for X13 to have, because they did lose out on a lot of dominance against 9 and 3 when they had, I believe it was J Slime, just flop to the wayside here. It appears to be a little bit more of a passive, much more conservative hold by X13. They're still going for a very heavy anchor, but they don't have anyone who's immediately waiting near that middle area on main stair. Moto Hatch, once again, getting opened up immediately. You hear that soft destruction going underway by Tihan Bomber, trying to gather as many angles as he can for him and the rest of his team. So pretty much the exact same situation that we were just in last round. However, we don't have 9 and 3 with that first entry, and there is a much bigger emphasis on this church hold to stop 9 and 3 from getting that map control and getting a plant down.
Church is something that's highly underutilized in recent times. It's mostly been a bit of a focal point to try and push in through Kool-Aid Wall, take Kitchen Hatch, and I severely think that Church is underutilized, and I think the fact that X13 are defending it, maybe they have an insight that maybe we don't, and I think one of the biggest factors is the fact that we saw 9-3 with unbridled aggression take full and complete control of Mimo, having 3 players at one point in time dropped down and ready to defend, ready to attack from there. It's definitely something to necessarily have to worry about. But J-Slime, with one of the nastiest angles ever inside the utility, finds a very nasty shot from in between 2 pipes, takes out Gekyu, and Stevie's eating a bit of electricity, but it does not seem to matter. Bry with an absolutely spectacular lineup with a T5, lines them all up and plucks them all down. An absolute showcase and a flawless round now. We did, in fact, see essentially a replication of Oregon's map 1 to map 2 difference.
Like you said, flawlessly executed by X13. They didn't give too much for 9 and 3 to work with, and then they realized, oh no, they know what we're going to try and attempt here, the church push. They all just got wide swung out by Bry at the very end. That was a perfect hook, line, and sinker, like to say for the old Roadhog player, and get that one out for Bry. Very well done indeed. Now looking a little bit better. Still have a really good advantage. Now we're going to get to go up in towards CCTV and Cash Room, which, again, I want to stress that it has been a lot more difficult to defend this bomb site in recent times, especially since you tend to see a lot more Maverick in play now that you're forced to ban basically Thatcher and Habana almost every single game, denying out bandit tricking or Kaid tricking. Still have snows on the Kaid. I hope it works out well for him, but other than that, it'll be mainly biologic to try to have a lot of that hard reach capabilities outright denied. And yeah, you already have that mute jammer pre-set up and some shotgun holes being made preemptively as well on that soft wall before it turns into a reinforced wall to make the Mavericks' job a lot more difficult. Fun fact, and yeah, that's where the electric claws are going as well. Top of rafters, that's pretty common as well. So everything you'd see in a normal playbook when defending CCTV. Yeah, you saw it too in all chat? Yeah.
I did see it. What? Oh, Bry just got owned. What?
Doesn't even matter. What? Chicken butt.
Hey, who's Joe? It was this map, too, that UPL got that clip. Just FYI, it was this map that UPL has that clip for us saying that. I got to rewatch the clips. Going through making my reel, I had to find a bunch of clips. UPL was really good about being able to go that. Thanks to the awesome work of our social media manager.
Demon.
Yeah, the Twitter thumbs go through and just find so much success there. Yeah, I mean,
ready.
Yeah, just at a moment's notice. Yeah, I'm really appreciative of the fact that they're so available at a moment's notice to find those and whatnot. So, moving on from that, I want to point out the fact that X13 using the mAAd to full effect on those rafters inside of Garage is something that is super expected but not always done, and it's something that's just so difficult to fight against. It forces an attacking team to actually push through Garage, and not to push in a way that you would necessarily anticipate, like going through the Garage doors, like with Habana, like we've seen one or two metas ago, and try to play from below with some nades. No, that's not an option anymore. You have to go in through that door, and your mAAd or whoever you have sitting up there should not peek. It's probably J-Slam at that point. Should not peek. Should not be an option and should not be played. But I'll tell you who shouldn't have peaked. Probably shouldn't have been Stevie, as one was taken out. Now Snow is taken out in return from T-Hunt Bomber in a 4v4 with a minute and a half remaining. Make it a 3v4 as J-Slime is in secret stash connecting to VIP. A second one. This is Biologic, who takes out T-Hunt Bomber, living with about 20 HP. John, a minute and a half remains, and X13 have a pretty big handhold with 2 players up.
There is no chance in hell Biologic secures another frag. If that happens, I'll be speechless, but I don't think 9 and 3 actually knows he's relocated in the bathroom. This could be a devastating blow for 9 and 3, but it'll be Elses just waiting patiently for the hop out and eliminating TK. Get Q, hopping down in towards Logi Hats, gets one on Bry, and has to get in towards another gunfight almost immediately, now in about 50 health, and is in that 1 versus 3 situation, having no intel. Elses just holds down the angle near Khan's wall and eliminating the last survivor for 9 and 3. X13 getting closer and closer towards wrapping up map number 2. This might not be the redemption arc for 9 and 3. This might just be a 7-3 victory for X13.
Yeah, I think we could see this go through. I mean, we've seen a very successful last few rounds for X13. You could say, obviously, the flawless one is probably more important than we maybe realized. I mean, that's such a mental downer to say it's a 9-3 to have a flawless victory like that going against you. And I think that's going to definitely play into play. And while they did get one mental boon by catching Bry off guard with that guess what moment, I don't think it was enough, right? I don't think Bry was down bad enough. And when you got Biologic and J-Slime and Elsist stepping up and finding themselves some success, and even Snows to go for it, I mean, come on. X13, they held that one down in stride. They completely set themselves up for success, and I'm going to go ahead and break it to 9-3 here. They've got to change things up. Their attack has failed. It's fluttered out, and they need to kind of adapt to a bit more of a off-angle held X13, who are being, dare I say, ballsy. They have confidence. They feel like there's nothing they can lose in these gunfights, and it's definitely showing. I mean, Biologic should have lost that gunfight, stepping out from Stash into VIP, but yet did not, and that's just something that is just a huge deficit to 9-3.
And X13 are just playing the trade game better, too. On the occasion where 9 and 3 will get that first frag, it tends to be followed up by some sort of response by X13, giving them an equalized situation. That hasn't happened every single time, but for the most part, these have just been very frag-orientated rounds where X13 just comes out on top. I mean, they've been having a lot more of a consistent lineup here, and 9 and 3, catching me off guard mid-sentence, they're just all pushing in towards Strip Club, and maybe trying just to find some off angles on X13. I mean, I don't blame them. Trying to get X13 in a really rough predicament off the bat might be a really good idea, and it actually works out. The Gemini drone catching Elsest off guard. T-Hun Bomber takes full advantage of it and gets an immediate frag on Elsest, someone who could have been really important for denying those last-minute pushes coming in through. That's a rough start for X13, but they do have a ton of rounds to come back from that, obviously, or maybe even this round. Like I said, we've seen them find trades quite consistently.
I think consistency is key right now, and consistency could be the deciding factor of this matchup. I mean, obviously X13 are pretty consistent with their round wins. They've managed to now be up 3 in a match point scenario, and yet we do see I guess 9-3 still attempting to play towards a basement side. Already a second pick now having to go through. Gekyu is taken out with taking out Bry, but Biological stop the bleeding ever so slightly. Now taking out T-Obama. Nitro in hand. is just waiting to toss this over towards Jacuzzi. An interesting option could go through. I don't know if they have the information to work off of, maybe working with some assistance, but an aid is tossed through. They've got so much utility being dumped. Biologic now sprinting away towards a different direction, gonna head over towards Jim. Not an escape, but instead another option to go for a kill. X13 are not looking to just end this one off in a safe fashion. They're looking to, I guess, punch this one in. They want no victims here, no prisoners, nothing but victims, I guess I should say. And they're definitely looking to cause that damage. Snows comes up to even assist and help out Biologic in the process.
A lot of tension here for 9 and 3, even though they have a great man advantage. This round has a lot of weight to it here. But TK just fragging out of his mind in the middle of the bomb site. It puts J-Slime in a very rough predicament. Great shot on a Gekyu. He's got to find 3 more still, regardless of that beautiful frag on towards Gekyu, and the plant being fully clocked in by Focal. It'll make this a very daunting task, and Stevie's just watching down main stairs. It'll wrap up that round, favoring 9 and 3. They still want to give plenty of fight up against X13, but again, one more round will just seal the deal and put X13 in the semifinals bracket.
I kind of want to see that moment of Gekyu, getting killed inside the bathroom again. I kind of want to see it because Gekyu even said he blocked my screen, like completely blocked by the scope. And I saw that. I noticed that when it happened. It's such an unfortunate thing to see. That scope completely blocked TK as he jumped in through that wall. It just was not something that can be stopped. It's just something that's so random. It's just pure coincidence, so unlucky, and it's exactly what happened. Man, that's got to eat them up inside. But I don't think it's necessarily a huge point of contention. I don't think they were going to win that one anyways. But we'll definitely have to see how it plays out. X13 now with only 2 rounds of wiggle room until ultimately it's led to overtime if 9-3 are able to surmount the comeback. And X13 now get to go back to the basement side, get to defend this tried and true objective where we have already seen them kind of be failed once and then completely swept again by Bry with that T5 SMG, who, guess what, bringing it back once again, that Legion, who the utility isn't necessarily the key point for it. It's more of just putting an insanely strong gun in the hands of an insanely strong player. And while, yes, the goo mines can slow down, stop a push, stop a plant, make a lot of audio cues to kind of play into that, and it can be viable. Just bring Oryx. Have fun with it. I would bring Oryx, mostly because I just love Oryx. But put a 1.5 scope with it. Go even further with it. Go even further beyond, as some would say. But I'll have to see how it pans out. X13 still on match point and looking to try and finish things off with style.
Maybe Gekyu said that, not Goku. I get names every time. Wouldn't shock me. Legion can give some really good intel, and with Valkyrie being banned, it's a lot more difficult to actually find that intel unless you bring other intel operators like Echo, which X13 has been doing. And other than that, there's also default cameras. So bringing them out is great, and you also have those impacts for impact tricking, and you've got the T5 SMG. It may not have the 1.5, but it still shreds players really well. So he's kind of like the jack of all trades. Nothing too mastered. He's not the best at one thing. He's just really good at a bunch of other things. That's why I'm still a really big fan of Legion. He's just a really good operator to just do a little bit of everything for your team. And X13, they've definitely been all over the place. The exact same thing can be said for 9 and 3. And I'm wondering if 9 and 3 are going to just do the exact same thing that they've been doing the 2 times that this site has been brought when X13 is defending it, or if they're going to change things up, try to go around, maybe in through Dirt Tunnel and also Kitchen Hatch, or maybe a little bit more emphasis in towards Secret, or are they going to try to run through Triple Wall again, get that bottom main stairs control, and also try to run in through Moto and go for a church plant?
I definitely think that could be a viable option. Obviously, we had seen before J-Slime find a very cheeky angle inside a utility from Blue and, get it from next to the pipe and from behind the actual utility itself, but we didn't see it this time around. Instead, Biologic kind of lost that gunfight. It was dropped down fairly low, but I'll tell you who's dropped down even lower. It's Gekyu and T-Hunt Bomber, as Biologic is able to step up with some great assistance and take out yet another. J-Slime sitting in garage. Dangerous position as 2 players want to push them, and hiding now in a very tight spot. Finds one into TK. Retina's completely removed, and Focal's going to go for the aggressive stance. Finally, the bleeding is stopped ever so slightly, as you do see J-Slime has been removed from the situation, but I'm sorry, Stevie and Focal in a 2v4, a very dangerous time. Biologic and Bry may be low, but we've seen the damage they can do nonetheless. And that's going to be a very scary existence for him. Maybe a mudroom push could be viable. We do know they were in garage, and so does X13. And instead, it looks to be Stevie's looking for a push, maybe drop down from Secret. Has the opportunity to go and use the Gone 6 to remove out the barbed wire, but Biologic still there, ready at a moment's notice. As you do see the Gemini Replicator go down to give Stevie that information.
Gotta definitely play this trade game here with Biologic and Bry being very low. This could easily turn into a 2 versus 2 if 9 and 3 just play their cards right. Shots being fired out by Stevie, tries to get that pickup kill, and if he does, he'll have full control of Secret. A shotgun kill comes out by Elsas. Stevie does get one, but now it's all up to Stevie here as he finds another one. Being an absolute menace, he finds 3! He only needs one more on a Snows, and he might have the information, but no! He loses the last gunfight. Snows is not going to allow him to clutch. No option for overtime as we get sent to a full-fledged victory, 7-4, X13. They'll knock him out, 9 and 3, no longer in play. They're going to the semifinals, Scott.
And what operator is it that we see do it with what gun? It's the Echo with the MP5 SD that we ranted and raved about in map 1, coming back in map 2 in the most clutch moment possible, where you see the player popping off, not dying despite being low that entire time essentially, and just refusing to go down. It's like the old Oblivion line, why won't you die? You know, it just would not die. They just won't fall. And you know, eventually, you know, when you hit an axe against a log enough times, it'll eventually be felled. Not all of us are Captain America and just pull that apart with our hands. And it definitely looked like we were about to see that come through, but ultimately denied. What a great performance, though, from X13, and a good attempt on the comeback from 9-3. X13 looked a little bit weary. I was very scared for them at the beginning half of that game, where we did see, you know, 9-3 take some successful rounds, and a round that was very dominant as well, completely lopsided against X13, but they clapped back a little bit later with their own flawless, which arguably is even better for them. So congratulations, X13. You will be facing off against Mystic. I think we can show off the playoff bracket one more time to see what it will go through. And yes, we can indeed confirm Mystic will be facing off against X13 in the semifinals. And obviously, I think an important thing here, John, I want to go ahead and keep this up. I want to ask your opinion here. I want your prediction. Who do you think is going to win in these, you know, next 2 games that have to occur?
Aerial Horizon Chess Club.
Okay, then that was a really quick jump on that. Oh my goodness.
I love Revenge Nation and SH Bravo, but I just think Aerial Horizon Chess Club just have a better stacked roster. There's definitely a very big underdog storyline again, and it didn't seem as big of an underdog story for 9 and 3 against X13 because their scoring was very similar in the regular season, but X13, they've just been a powerhouse throughout the entire regular season and throughout other leagues as well. They've been looking top notch, and that they proved that point really effectively, not even allowing 9 and 3 to get to overtime or a third map. And I'll stick true to my predictions. I think Aerial Rise will win up against SH Bravo, and Chess Club will most likely go up against Revenge Nation, but I would love to see a well thought out battle between the two, very neck and neck. I hope map 3 will end up being played out on both of those best of 3s, especially since I don't have to cast them, so I don't have to stay up super late. But hey, you know, you can have your biases here and there. You know, sometimes you get to show your true colors, I guess.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say I think it's going to be Aerial Rise too. I think they're going to win against Slaughterhouse Bravo. I don't care how they win. I think they are going to win. It could go through. In fact, I think it's. I think it might be an FF. I think that may be where you have. I'm not going to give confirmation for that, but it could very well be. I may have some insider information about that, but I think the Chess Club Revenge Nation match is going to be very interesting. Thankfully, I'm casting that Thursday with Chief, and I think that's kind of a big point of contention. Chess Club just took the NSG tourney right against CL teams, and that's a huge boost for them. But Revenge Nation also just won a LAN, right? They went to a LAN, they attended, they won, and so that's another factor. They're both coming off of dubs. And they're both going to be extremely confident coming back from that. And I guess I would still be scared of Chess Club. I mean, they won NSG there. So I would probably have a lot of fear if I am Revenge Nation, but you're also coming off a victory, a trophy coming off. So like, you know, you have that level of confidence. You've got that, you know, complacency there. So it could be a boon. It could be a negative. So I guess time will ultimately have to tell. But, you know, thank you guys, everybody, for watching. Make sure to check out more unified action. We're not done. We're not done.
No.
One more thing. We have one more thing to show, actually. Let's go ahead and see what that is, right? It's finishing up. We'll just keep dragging out for a little bit. I do want to see X13 versus the Mystic roster. What day is that being done next week? Like Monday, Tuesday,
maybe
Wednesday, Thursday? Like
day? Either
maybe.
Monday or our day. Yeah,
Oh no,
I'm
there
not
you go. See,
100% sure.
it's we have it confirmed. Arrow Rise are going up ahead because Slaughterhouse Bravo is in fact forfeiting that. That's really unfortunate. That's really sad to see. But Arrow Rise will get a free bye going in forward to face off against the winner of Chess Club or
Yeah.
Revenge Nation, which as you predicted could very well be Chess Club or could be Revenge Nation trying to find a second W.
Especially since Chess Club has been just only doing online. You, as Revenge Nation, I know especially on LAN as well for commentary, it's two completely different things. It's night
Different
and day.
beast.
And you're going to expect yourself to be playing in that LAN environment almost, and then you almost get let down slightly because you're back online. That might give Chess Club the upper hand. And to be honest, they were just better rosters and teams in NSG in comparison to the AGN LAN. So I'm going to say that outright. I'm not even going to lie. That seems really mean, but it's true.
But a
It's just
trophy's a
facts.
trophy, right? Like
Last
you're coming
time-
off a W,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like,
no, that's awesome.
yeah.
And I love Revenge
That's the only
Nation.
facet factor I'm talking about.
And
like.
amateur lands are beautiful. So
They're fun.
We need more of those. They're fun and they're beautiful. We need more of them.
I mean,
So keep
UPL's
doing-
got themselves some lands. I
Keep
know
doing
that they,
what
they
you're
ran
doing,
those ones
Adrian. And
up.
yeah, UPL, let's get some Rainbow Six lands. Come on. I'm seeing people.
Listen,
like
I'm waiting.
Orbital and
I'm waiting for
Settlers.
my call. Where's my
I'm
email?
seeing them having fun out on the lands. I want to have that fun again, you know? But there is definitely a big skill gap comparison in between Chess Club and Revenge Nation as to what they have accomplished as teams. So that might already give you a bit of a hindsight as to who might be the winner in that best of three situation, but that does not mean you should not be counting out Revenge Nation. It will definitely be an underdog storyline, like I've been talking about countless amounts of times, but it really does seem like Chess Club is looking to be one of the, if not the best team inside of T3 currently at this very moment.
Yeah, but we could see X13 win over Mystic, and that'd be a very fun match as well. Could see
That
them
would be
take
fun,
that
yeah.
W over the top, and
100%.
could see back-to-back victors. Didn't X13 take last season? If I'm incorrect or correct about that, I'm pretty sure they did. So we could see a double victor for that. I'd love to see X13 face off against the Chess Club roster, who have just looking unstoppable at this point in time. They look hot, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring to the table. But finally, with that going out of the way, we do in fact have confirmation. That's all we have for you guys today. Make sure to stay tuned for some more Unified and UPL action as a whole. Obviously, we'll be back again Thursday, as we do not have action tomorrow from the forfeit coming through. And you'll see that big matchup between Chess Club and Revenge Nation to see how it's going to fare out. My name's Infernosis, joined here by my great friend fellow. Appreciate everyone here for being here and watching, and we will catch you guys with the next UPL action.